quest for power. Some say it began millions of years ago on the Great Serengeti Plain in Africa, when one of our ancestors sought power over another by welcoming him to the club. As the eons progressed, mankind didn't, by confusing power with materialism, munitions, morals, muscles, and money. In King Arthur's time, it was whoever had the most swords. Today, it's who's got the biggest computer with the most powerful RAM. But let's face it, it's the 80s, and we ought to know better. Actually, most of us do know better. But one lady is an expert on the subject of true power. She's learned that real strength comes from strong convictions. That's a tough lesson, especially in the music business. But she's developed the muscle she needs to follow the dictates of her own desires, rather than weakly pursuing the prepackaged course others have set out for her. She knows that before you get physical, you've got to get metaphysical. Olivia Newton-John.
If not for you, babe, I couldn't even find the door. If you love me, let me know. If you don't, then let me go. Let me be there in your morning. Let me be there in your night. Have you never been that low? Just a big shot. Anytime would be fine. Will a little more love make it right? Will a little more love make it right? Have to believe we are magic. Nothing can stand in our way. Our love is running deeper than the night, stronger than the north wind blowing. I'm the one you want, it's all I wanna be. So come on, baby, make a move on me. So come on, what I want, what I need. Oh, yes, indeed. Go for it. I mean, you want to stay the same forever, it'd be boring.
Olivia Newton-John. The only thing about her that never changes is the fact that she's always changing. She started out in America as an English-born Australian singer with a country western twang, then moved on to soft ballads, before finally settling upon her unsettling yet daring sound of today. Instead of following convention, Olivia follows her instincts.
Yeah, I think you have an instinct about how it's going. Records, sometimes it's hard to tell. I think you know if it's, like with Physical, I knew it was either a big hit or a dead flop, and I felt the same about Heart Attack. But there are some songs that you feel ambivalent about. You don't know, well, it could be or it couldn't be, but there are some that you really feel strongly about. And it's the same with a script. When you read it, it's either it or it isn't it, you know. Well, you have to go on your gut feeling. That's what I've always gone on. So you just have to trust it. My mouth is dry.
I'm Jerry Bishop, and this time, Spotlight Special salutes a lady who's been in the musical spotlight since 1971, Olivia Newton-John. Her story will take us around the world. We'll start out in England, where she was born, journey to Australia, where she developed the courage to follow her own conscience, return to England for a cliffhanger with Cliff Richard, then cross the sea to America, where she sang in Nashville, starred in Hollywood, and learned to truly live in Malibu. Olivia Newton-John. She's a profile in courage, and her profile begins next on Spotlight Special.
Today is the sound, right now is the time. The music is right, and the music is mine. You're driving your car, I'm filling your ears. If your speakers are Jensen, I know you can hear the fury of music, that's what it's about. There's no laying back and there's no holding out. It's all on head full, that's where I can be found. And a Jensen can reach to the ends of my sound. It's not always smooth, what I want to say. If the music is ragged, you feel it that way. A Jensen is honest to you and to me. It goes in my music and then sets it free. Jensen, when it's the sound that moves you, the rock is real when you pull it in on Jensen speakers. Now they fit more cars in more places than ever before. Jensen, when it's the sound that moves you.
No matter what you plan to spend on your wedding rings, say I do to Zales Spring Wedding Specials. Save $61 to $1,000 on a collection of diamond solitaires. If you're 18 or over, come to Zales and register by April 23rd to win a free Jamaican honeymoon. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Come see why Zales sells more bridal diamonds than any other jeweler. And say I do with confidence, because Zales, the diamond store, is all you need to know.
Image. It's as elusive as a reflection in a mirror. Image is precious to an entertainer because it defines our vision of them. You'd be afraid to change your image with millions of people watching, and yet Olivia Newton-John has had the courage to let her image grow with her. But that maturity's been risky, as her fans wonder whether Olivia's the sweet and innocent lass in I Honestly Love You or the totally hot woman in Heart Attack.
Well, I guess they're both sweet and innocent. I mean, there's a line as to how sweet and innocent you could be at my age and being in show business, you know, but I don't think I was that far away from the image I was at the time I was doing it, you know, but as I've got older and as I've matured, you know, my music hopefully has matured too, and I've grown up, and with growing up my tastes have changed and I've wanted to do different things. I mean, I couldn't be singing the same sweet little innocent songs and wearing little cute little dresses now. It wouldn't fit with me as a person, so you have to change with yourself. And I think when people go against what they are or who they are is when it doesn't work. Maybe
It's hard to believe the same woman can sing Deeper Than the Night and I Honestly Love You with equal conviction. But a lot of folks do believe it. Who are they? Olivia Newton-John's audience.
if I look out in the audience, I can see like the first 6 rows, and they're really, literally 6 to 60. I mean, I have little tiny kids with, you know, the headbands on. And I have their parents, and then teenage kids, and then the people who were teenagers when I first started, and their parents. It's amazing to me.
Just as amazing is how far Olivia's traveled since the early days. That's when she toured by bus, and it wasn't even one of those luxury jobs with a big private stateroom, a video system, and a fully equipped galley.
No, just a Greyhound bus. It was terrible. You touch the seats and dust would hit the ceiling, and, you know, it was me and the band, and we'd make sandwiches on the way, and that's about it. I've worked long enough now, I can do it in comfort.
A woman needs attention like the flowers need the sun.
Olivia Newton-John's been letting it shine ever since she was 13 years old. That's when she stepped into the spotlight as the winner of, believe it or not, the Hayley Mills Look-alike Contest.
My sister always thought I looked like Hayley Mills, so she entered me in a look-alike contest for her. Whistle Down the Wind, I think, was the movie that was out at the time. So she sent my photo in. I don't think I even knew about it. Anyway, I won the contest. And I think I got free passes to the theatre for 6 months or something, and my picture in the paper. I don't remember it now, but I did look like her then. And then I think they're very careful with these passes. You could go any night except the weekends and holidays, which is the only time you could go when you're like 13 anyway, so they didn't lose much out of their pocket.
Guess my
As we'll discover, Olivia Newton-John is hopelessly devoted to both her adopted countries, America and Australia. We'll journey with her to a land down under, next on Spotlight Special. Olivia Newton-John was born in the English university town of Cambridge. Her father was Welsh, which may account for the lyrical quality of her voice, while her mother was a cellist. The Newton-Johns moved down under to Australia long before it became fashionable. That's where Olivia won that Hayley Mills Look-alike Contest, and where she started singing all that jazz.
In Australia, in Melbourne where I lived, you're either a jazzer or a rocker, which meant you like, you know, traditional jazz, which is like New Orleans jazz, or rock and roll. And I was a jazzer. And we wore, you know, the beatnik clothes and the, you know, Hessian jackets and jeans and black skivvies and We all had long blonde hair with bangs, you know, all looked exactly the same, and desert boots. And we sang on the weekends in these little traditional jazz clubs. And 2 of the girls were tone deaf and 2 of us ended up being professional singers. We got pennies thrown at us sometimes. My brother-in-law had a coffee lounge and I used to go in there on the weekends. And he had a folk singer. I would go there and sing with him. And that's really where it started.
It's nice to have talent and to have the strength to stand up for your beliefs. But being in the right place at the right time doesn't hurt either. That's precisely where Olivia was, when a man who could open doors walked through them.
This guy who was in television came into the club because my sister had told him about me. See, she was always there trying to help me along. He came in and heard me sing, and he knew about this talent contest that was going to be a national pop show, kind of like American Bandstand, but the host was a singer and he was a star, Johnny O'Keefe, his name was. And so I had to go to Johnny O'Keefe's hotel room and audition for him. I was terrified.
It was no contest, as Olivia easily won that Australian talent contest. First prize was a trip to England. But Olivia decided to delay her departure by filling in for a friend on a children's TV show.
I became Lovely Livy for about 2.5 months while this girl was getting married. She was Princess Anne, so I had to be Lovely Livy. And the host was Happy Hammond, so you can imagine what kind of show it was.
But the show's producers weren't kidding around when they offered the Lovely Livy her own series. She was about to start her final year of high school, and yet Olivia had already graduated into making tough and courageous decisions.
They have these terrible scandal papers called The Truth, and this guy wrote something about, well, I think Olivia should go back to school because she has lots of potential, but she should finish her schooling, da-da-da-da-da. My mother wrote back and said, thank you very much, this is what I want my daughter to do, and this whole thing's going on. School or start, and they had pictures of me in school uniform and pictures of me in, you know, on television and all this. Meanwhile, this is really awful for me. I'm trying to make this big decision, you know. In the end, I told my mother that I wanted to go and do the television show. And as soon as I made the decision, they were all behind me.
And one place where Olivia definitely did not want to be was England.
I didn't want to go.
But she did anyway. And once in England, did Olivia ever look back? Of course. That story's coming up next on Spotlight Special.
The voice of the blues, I'm moving you. In your musical car, I'm coming through. In your Jensen speakers, I'm talking true. I'm the sound that moves you. On Jensen, my blues get blue as they go. About a mile bass never sounded so low. When highs break through, they're loud and clear. You grab them in your fist cause it comes so near. The Jensen speakers never change my tune. They're strong and they're straight. They give me the room. The saying and thinking for crying out loud. Shaking out the cobwebs, shaking up the crowd. Jensen, when it's the sound that moves you. Oh yeah. Listen to your blues on Jensen speakers. They now fit more cars, more places than ever. Jensen, when it's the sound that moves you.
You do get a sense of pride being reserves.
Army Reservist Karen Gorey.
You always have a sense of pride, I guess, because after going through basic, after going through your schooling, then getting back to your unit, and you're going, whew, I finally made it. I get a good feeling because I know I've done it. And no one can ever change that feeling.
If you'd like to earn a nice extra income 1 weekend a month, call your Army Reserve recruiter today. Look under recruiting in the yellow pages. Paid for by the Army Reserve.
Today, artists like Men at Work, Rick Springfield, and Air Supply have helped put Australia on the musical map. But back in the 60s, being from down under was not such an advantage. That's why fame and fortune-seeking acts like the Bee Gees, for example, returned to England, followed by a rather reluctant Olivia Newton-John.
I didn't really want to leave. I had a boyfriend in Australia. You know, I'm 16, going on 17. I didn't want to go. And I was underage, so I had no choice, really. And then the first 3 months I was there, I kept booking my ticket to go home. My mother kept cancelling it. There was a travel agent around the corner. I used to keep going in there and booking my passage, and she'd go in there on the way home from work and say, "It's been a young girl been here booking her passage." She'd cancel it. It got to such a state that I went to a lawyer to find out if I could stay, because I was underage and a minor, I think, till you're 17 or something. And he said, if your mother wants you to stay, you have no option. So I'm really glad. I thank her now, but at the time I was really resentful.
Olivia learned to love England. For one thing, she was doing a lot of television there as a member of Eliza and Jane.
Guess who was Jane?
But that wasn't nearly as weird as the next group Olivia joined, Tomorrow. They were supposed to be England's answer to the Monkees, going so far as to ape their style in a movie that apparently was truly forgettable. How bad was it?
How bad was it? Well, if you can imagine this. Take really bad script. It's really bad music. Put it in space. They had this group that was discovered by this outer space beings who needed something to keep their civilization going, so they whisk us up in a spaceship, and our music is supposed to revolutionize their planet. And that's it.
That ill-fated group Olivia joined, Tomorrow, was soon relegated to yesterday. Olivia's career could have turned into a cliffhanger if it hadn't been for a man who wanted her as a regular on his TV series, Cliff Richard.
Yeah, we said, don't just come on for one show. Why don't you do 6 shows? I mean, Olivia looks so lovely, and she's the one person I've enjoyed singing with. We did a lot of duets on the series. It was really great. She's got a great ear for harmonies and stuff like that. And she did the 6 shows, you know, it was fantastic success. It was really quite exciting.
When I did Xanadu, I was able to ask him if he would sing with me, so that was kind of a kick.
We'll hear why Olivia's first hit went to the dogs as Olivia Newton-John conquers the English-speaking world. Next on Spotlight Special.
Today is the sun. Right now is the time. The music is right and the music is mine. You're driving your car, I'm filling your ears. If your speakers are Jensen, I know you can hear the fury of music. That's what it's about. There's no laying back and there's no holding out. It's all ahead full, that's where I can be found. And Jensen can reach to the ends of my sound. It's not always smooth what I want to say. If the music is ready.
It's always hard to say which elusive ingredient is responsible for an artist's very first hit record. Maybe it's the song, or the arrangement, or the producer, or perhaps just the stars. But for Olivia Newton-John, fate intervened in the form of her dog.
Oh, yeah. My dog was lying in the studio. In fact, you can hear it on the tape that they used for the song. He got up and moved across the studio and knocked the microphone, and if you listen halfway through the song, there's this clank on the microphone. It's kind of interesting, so I'll always remember him because of that. Red setters have always been lucky for me.
If not for you.
If Not For You would prove to be the first in an apparently unending string of hits for Olivia Newton-John. More important, it brought her to the attention of the American audience. On the advice of fellow Australian Helen Reddy, Olivia moved to the States shortly thereafter. And she hasn't looked back.
I adapted very easily. You adapt very easily to luxury. I think America is very luxurious compared to anywhere else in the world. Everything is so easy and accessible, and to be able to pick up the phone and get an operator within 10 seconds. In England, you wait 10 minutes, you know, like, to get even directory inquiries. So, I mean, I was knocked out by the big fridges, and I remember the first time I stayed in a hotel in America, I couldn't believe it. I had a colour television in my room and a double bed, and 24-hour room service. I was in heaven. It was very easy to adapt. I wasn't really aware that country music belonged to one part of the country or anything like that.
Olivia's referring to the backlash by country purists against her early hits that would earn her a Country Grammy Award. She courageously met that challenge straight on and won. Olivia also faced another test, and it was about something over which she had absolutely no control: her face.
One interviewer said that I should have been an air hostess, because air hostesses at that time was the most glamorous profession about 10 years ago. Should have been an air hostess or a model and forget about singing. And I think that made me even more determined to make it, because I was really perturbed. But it was like people couldn't see past the way I looked and listened to me. And so the great thing about making it in America was that no one really knew what I looked like. So here I felt like I'd made it on my music and not on how I look.
It's a little-known fact that when Olivia Newton-John first went to England, she wanted to be an actress. Well, she'd finally get her chance by starring in the biggest movie musical in Hollywood's history. That's next on Spotlight Special.
Today is...
Hey, Susie, what happened to your Sure and Natural box? It's green. So Sure and Natural is in a yellow box.
This is new deodorant Sure and Natural Maxi Shields.
Deodorant Sure and Natural?
Yeah, now the thinnest full-size pack gives you a choice. Original Sure and Natural and new deodorant Sure and Natural.
So now deodorant Sure and Natural can replace your thick pad with something thinner and much more comfortable?
Sure can.
Far out! New deodorant Sure and Natural. I'm green with envy.
Earlier, we heard Olivia Newton-John tell us about her first movie, a movie which even she admits was dreadful.
I shouted most of the way through it because the soundman kept saying, "I can't hear you." So when I watch it back now, I just cringe.
That was the movie about the rock group that went to outer space. Fortunately, Olivia was able to redeem herself with a film that was far more down to earth. It would become the biggest movie musical of all time.
I waited a long time because I didn't want to make another mistake. I'd seen Grease in England with Richard Gere actually in the lead years before and liked it. Here's where Helen Reddy comes in again. I was at a dinner party at her house. Alan Carr was there. He remembered me apparently because I was telling some joke and making silly faces at the table. I don't why that he remembered me from that, I don't know, but he did. And when they were casting it, John Travolta apparently asked for me for the role of Sandy, and Alan remembered me, so they sent me the script. And I liked it and felt that it would be a great move for me to be able to do a movie where I played two roles. But I was very concerned about acting in film, so I said to them, I'll do a screen test if I have the option of not doing it if I don't like myself. So they'd never heard anything quite like that before, but they said all right. So I did the screen test, and then I went to see it with John the next day. And thank God, I thought it was okay. I got chills. There was a chemistry in the film between everybody, and the music was right, and it's timeless.
Summer loving.
Thanks to Grease, Olivia clearly lost her fear of filming. She did Xanadu with Gene Kelly, then went on to turn physical into a video album. That accomplishment just earned her yet another Grammy for Best Video of 1982. Why did Olivia add sight to her sound?
Because it was a new medium. We'd done video clips before, but it seemed to be the ideal one to do an album, as it was a new kind of theme. And so we started looking at tapes of different directors to find out who was the right person. I wanted to find someone who was innovative and who could steer me in a new direction. So we found Brian Grant. I think he's a real genius. He came up with most of the ideas, well, all of the ideas really, for it. I just let him go. Every song was about 2 or 3 days, so it was like making a movie, really. The whole tape ended up to be a movie.
John weaves a little magic with her animal magnetism when Spotlight Special returns. Back when Olivia Newton-John was living in England, she was constantly finding homes for stray animals because she wasn't allowed to have any in her apartment.
I decided if I ever made any money and if I had the room, I would make up for it. So I have definitely made up for it. I have 8 dogs, 5 horses, and 4 cats. I didn't mean to have that many, it just kind of grew.
For Olivia, Animals mean more than the cute creatures in her Malibu menagerie.
I'm very concerned about ecology and about the protection of endangered species in the world. And the dolphins, I thought, were one creature that people can identify with because they live in harmony with their environment and they don't harm each other. And we could learn a lot from them. It was the first time I've really ever made a stand on anything, not made a stand, but talked about anything that could be at all controversial, really. I have fans from the early days, and I have fans from Greece, and I have fans from physical, so I've got like 3 eras of different fans. Some that, you know, have liked me through all 3 phases, some who've discovered my old music from knowing me now. Like there's some little kids in the audience last night, maybe 7 and 8 years old in the front row, who were singing Let Me Be There. Now they must have gone and bought the old albums because, you know, there's no way they would have heard it enough on the radio or anything. What I think is nice is that I have equal number of male and female fans. I think I remind them of someone they know. That's what I seem to find. I look like their sister or their cousin or their, you know, their old girlfriend or something.
Every time Olivia Newton-John takes a chance, she runs the risk of failure. A failure that could cost her popularity and credibility. And yet, it is her quiet courage which has brought Olivia success in the first place. As a result, the Olivia Newton-John of today is self-assured, resourceful, and confident of her role in contemporary music.
I was either going to be totally accepted or it would be a total bomb. But you have to take chances or you don't grow.
The Olivia Newton-John Spotlight Special. This program was written by Alan Goldblatt and produced by Janice Hahn for Watermark ABC Radio Enterprises. Executive producer Tom Rounds. Directed by Stu Jacobs. Project Director Corinne Baldas.